All right, so here is to coming back from our break, and now we're going to resume the interview, going over the rest of family and migration and settlement, and then we'll hop into community and identity. So let's finish up with family and migration to end settlement. All right, so what were your family's economic circumstances, and do you remember any time where money was tight, and do you remember having to do without things that you wanted or needed growing up?
Well, we never got to buy clothes. My mama made all our clothes. And I had a brother, but I had a second brother who was a stepbrother.
You talking
Norman.
about Norman? Yeah, stepbrother.
Stepbrother. And so never got to know him very well. He never really lived with us. And then my brother Don became a boxer. And the rest of us.
What were your finances like?
Very bad. This was in the, what's that time of the war, you know? 19th.
Do you recollect anything back in the Depression, 1930s? That's too early for you, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, but I mean, it would have affected me somehow, because, you know, my mom had to cook, and we grow things, and my grandma was an invalid, so somebody always had to take care of her. That was my sister Roz. She suffered a lot. But we didn't know we were that poor. You don't have the things that a lot of other people have. But my mother never made a distinction about, we can't have that because, we're poor. It was it. No, we didn't even discuss it. I mean, you did whatever your mother told you, and you believed everything she said, and she didn't really lie, but she, I guess, stretched the truth sometime, huh? But she always taught us we had to not be sloppy and not be, regular mom stuff. And to just, God, I think, we had one restaurant, then another time we just had a grocery store, and I remember that. But, oh God, my memory's gone. It's really bad. Then after the war we moved from San Francisco, Oakland.
You moved to San Francisco from?
Yeah. Okay, before the war we lived in Oakland. Yeah, because I remember when my brothers, trying to remember. Oh God, my memory's bad.
My recollection is that I didn't have any kind of problems with money. My folks seemed to supply whatever was needed.
So you're lucky. Your mother and father didn't have 11 children.
Yeah. So I don't remember any kind of financial problems, at least in my family. Although I'm sure that there were financial problems. But, my father, at least all during the time that I'm aware of it, he had a produce market and probably was able to eke out a living that way.
You're lucky.
What were your duties around the house as a child? And were there other children's duties? And did the duties break down by gender?
Boy, that's a good question. I don't really remember.
Yep. And,
What-
well, by gender, my brother was in his late teens. He would be in his late teens. So he never had to do much because my mom was told there were so many girls. There was 11 girls. And,
9 girls.
Huh?
9.
9 girls. And then we did all the work, wash dishes, wash clothes, did all the cleaning and everything like that. But to us, it was just something we had to do. We had nothing else. But we had to go to Japanese school, and we weren't the smartest kids. At least I wasn't. And so we went to church. I went to a Christian church. Did you go to Christian church or Buddhist church?
No, Christian.
Christian. Yeah. But we always went to Christian church. So yeah, I think it was good that it went that way.
I don't recall any particular chores that I had to do.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
Well, we all had, wash dishes, clean the floor, wash the clothes. Because
I can't remember anything like that.
oh, you're a boy, that's why. Boys don't do those things.
Did your sister do the chores?
No, I don't remember her doing anything either. So I think my mother probably did most of the chores.
Yep. Too, if there's only 2 kids, it's much easier for your mother
Oh, I'm
to
sure
do everything.
that's true, yeah.
But in my house, it was 9 girls. And
Got more things to take care
there
of.
were more things to take care of, more people to take care of.
We didn't have that problem.
My dad had a restaurant one time, and then another time he had a grocery store. And we just thought that was what everybody did. My dad had a pretty bad time. Now that I think back on how he had to do it. And then, I remember, what was it? We were in Oakland, I guess, when the war started. And I remember the FBI coming and picking up my father. And they wouldn't tell us where he was, why they were taking him or anything. They just said, "Come with us." That was all I heard. And off he went. And so because they didn't tell us, we didn't worry too much. I guess that's stupidity on our part. But and my brother used to be a boxer, and so he was still in his teens, huh, Don?
Yeah, probably high teens.
High teens, yeah. And so, I don't know, now that I look back on it, I think, gee, I wish I was smarter then. I could have written some of these things down. But, I just remember the things that we had to do. We had to go to Japanese school to learn Japanese. Of course, I wasn't the smartest person in the class, but my mother wanted us to learn and not forget.
But you only went to school up until the war, and once the war, when you went to camp, did you go back to school again? They didn't have school, Japanese school in camp.
They had some classes in
Oh, really?
camp, yeah.
I don't recall any classes.
Well, I'm a girl, so my mom let us go. But, no, it's... No, it was... You see, I lived in Watsonville. I could always remember the sliding door for our store. God, it brings back some memories, but not really. But remember my brother used to go fishing a lot. I guess maybe that's why we ate so much fish. Then my oldest sister Doris was taking care of my grandmother, who was a bad patient. That's bringing back memories that I don't like.
Well, when did you learn how to cook, and who taught you how to cook?
Oh. You didn't really learn. Huh. See, he only was him and his sister, so his mom always cooked. Me, my mom cooked, my dad cooked, so we all learned how to cook. So, learned how to clean fish and stuff like that.
I didn't learn to cook until much, much later in life. I do the cooking now, but...
You take over for me.
Well, Nancee, do you still make any traditional family foods?
Do we? Well,
no,
we eat Japanese.
Not now.
Yeah. You can just go out and buy the pork chop and fry it.
Do you remember any traditional family foods? Maybe from your last...
Oh, no. My mother always made Japanese food. So I knew how, we had miso shuru and
Miso soup.
Miso soup and things like that. And we always had made our own.
Yeah, one of the things that the Japanese culture involves now is that at New Year's they make a traditional Japanese, different kinds of dishes, different kinds of foods, and they stick them in these platters,
We had this like this.
That you stick them in these little boxes that stack up, and then friends start coming over, and they go everywhere, and they all partake of this Japanese food. But my folks used to make that, at least my mother used to make that stuff. She knew how to make that stuff, but I never learned. And we've not really followed that part of the custom. So.
Well, what was your favorite family dish?
Anything. As long as we had food on the table. But
I guess I don't really have a favorite. We had a lot of different things that we ate when we were kids.
you were limited by the money part. But like I said, my sisters all went as schoolgirls. No, but is it schoolgirl? go work for a family,
Live in with the family
and live in with that family.
and provide some services.
Yeah. And they taught them how to cook different things and how to buy certain things. But my mother always made our clothes, so we never went to a store to buy a dress or anything. But my mom used to make everything.
What activities in the family did y'all do together?
Huh?
What family activities did you all did together as a family?
You had no choice, you had no place to go. We'd have a mochitsuki, which was where
Making mochi.
you make mochi, and that was a big thing, because you had to cook the rice and pound it after it came out, and then put it into little things.
Make little patties out of them and that sort of thing.
Oh, you know that?
I know of mochi ice cream.
Mochi ice cream. No, we didn't have mochi ice cream. You had to be rich to have mochi ice cream.
Well, they didn't have it back in those days.
Huh?
It wasn't invented until much later.
Oh, I'm sure that somebody had it, but terrible. Huh. No.
The only thing I can remember back then is that we had gatherings of the families at parks, and they would have races.
Oh, the Japanese.
Yeah,
Japanese school used to do that.
Usually it's the Japanese schools or I guess it was that kind of a thing. Anyway, they used to have events, and it
Picnics,
used to be like every year, big picnic, and races, prizes given out to the winners of the races, and a lot of track events, that sort of thing.
And this was all family based.
Well, it was, families based.
But
And
sponsored by the school, the
yeah, but
Japanese schools.
Japanese schools are primarily the Japanese schools. But it was a family kind of a thing in that all the families that we knew would be there. Yeah, I can remember that.
Can you remember your fondest memory of those events?
Winning running races.
Winning.
Winning. I used to be pretty fast in those days.
Yeah, I remember losing.
You know, they'd have short 25-yard races and that sort of thing. And as I grew up, I was winning a lot of those races.
Oh, I just watched my older brothers go. And I don't know. I guess they used to compete a lot, but
Yeah,
it was just
the other thing is
communal
that
thing.
my folks would take us to the park a lot.
You
on
had a car.
on Sundays. Yeah,
You had a car. One car wouldn't take our family anywhere.
and we meet other
Families.
families there. And one of the parks that we went to was Lincoln Park, and at that time they used to have a zoo there. That's way back, I guess. A zoo, and they had an alligator farm back then. So we go see the zoo and then see the alligator farm. I don't think any of that exists now. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump on to community-based questions. We'll start with describing the community you grew up in.
Well, probably the best thing is talking about this thing after the war. Let's see. When we got back from the war, after the war, we got out for a short time from camp to explore the areas.
Really?
So we came out to the east side of town in the Evergreen area and stayed in a hostel for a while to get acclimated to the area and to see where we might live, that sort of thing. And then subsequently we went back to camp again, and then the family came out and stayed at the hostel for a while, and then found apartments to live in, that sort of thing. And then, like I stated before, one of the apartments that we lived in the Skid Row district was pretty small, so there wasn't enough room for the four of us. So I went to Pasadena to work as a schoolboy. Lived with a family there, and went to high school there, or Pasadena Junior College at the time. And then after that, they found an apartment that was in the downtown district. So I went to Polytechnic High School and graduated there. And then went to LA City College for, I think, a year and a half. And then I joined the service, joined the Navy. And I was away for a whole year. Came back, and my family had moved to
A house?
Boyle Heights. Again, we used to live in Boyle Heights before the war, and then we lived in Boyle Heights after the war, different area of town. And continued to go to LACC. And then enrolled at UCLA in my junior year, I guess. And so that's the community that I was involved in. And back in those days, it was all schools and hanging around with the guys that were going to school with me. And that's about the size of the community at that time. That was right after the war. What did you do?
Before we get to Nancee, can you describe Pasadena to me? What was the name of the college and what street it was on?
Well, it was Pasadena Junior College. And in Pasadena at that time, you graduated from a middle school kind of a situation and went to Pasadena Junior College, which had the last 2 years of high school and the first 2 years of college. So I was in the 11th grade, and so I went to the 11th grade there. And I guess I went there for a semester, let's see. Pasadena Junior College was on Colorado and Hill Street, or thereabouts, somewhere in that area. And I lived in a home that was on California and Madison. Fairly nice home, a fairly big home, And I did the gardening chores there. And
Was that another family, not your family home?
that was when I was
Schoolboy.
schoolboy, yeah. And they didn't pay me anything, and I didn't pay anything either. And that home assignment was provided by a minister, that a Quaker minister, who at that time, right after the war, was helping a lot of families find homes, and helped in things like, setting up schoolboy. They knew a lot of families in Pasadena, and they would ask the families if they would support a schoolboy for whatever. And Nicholson was the guy's name, Reverend Nicholson. And his name has been played about quite a bit, because he did help an awful lot of people, awful lot of Japanese people back in those days. And the family that I stayed with had, I guess, 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and they were all in the service. And none of them were home at the time, but one of them finally got discharged from the Navy, and I saw him before I left that place. So that must have been in 1946 or so. Early 46. Then, like I say, my folks found an apartment in the downtown area, and I went to Polytechnic, and I went back home and walked to Polytechnic High, which is fairly close. It was in the downtown area. And then, like I said, from there I went to LA City College. And LA City College was located on Vermont. And I can't think of the side street, but out towards Beverly. It's still there. It's a 4-year institution now, I guess.
How long did you live in Pasadena for?
About a year.
About a year?
Yeah, no, 6 months. 6 months.
Can you describe what the street was like? What the houses looked like? And
Oh, houses were very, very nice where I lived. They were older homes, but they were pretty large homes. And so the people that lived there were pretty wealthy people. Not, substantially rich or anything like that, but wealthy enough, certainly upper middle class. And well, like I say, I didn't do much there, but
what was the racial demographics in that area?
white.
Predominantly white?
Yeah, all white.
All white. What about you, Nancee?
Well, I had so many sisters. They all had jobs like he had, going into a home and you become a maid, like, and you take care of children, or you serve as a maid, sometimes a cook, but not often. And in my in my time, I was too young to do any of that stuff. And so all I could remember is my dad had a restaurant by that time, and I'd work in a restaurant, and as washing dishes, cleaning the floors, cleaning the tables, things like that go on. And
But you had a period of time where you and another girl worked in a house as a maid or something like that for a little while.
we were maids. but we didn't like it very much.
But that was the owners were pretty wealthy people.
Yeah. And they were okay, but I didn't like it. I don't like to be.
Do you remember how long you worked there?
No, I don't even remember. They probably fired me.
Do you remember what city that was in?
What?
What city?
Oh, well, at that time I lived in Oakland.
Yeah, but I thought it was north of San Francisco.
North of
Tiburon or something?
San Bruno?
No. Well, it was a pretty. It was a nice
Area.
The area that you lived in.
I don't know. My memory's gone. I have to ask my sisters.
Roy, where did you shop and how far were these? How far away were these shops and how did you get there?
What do you mean by shops?
For groceries or for just to fulfill any of your needs.
Well, I didn't do the grocery shopping back in those days. My folks.
Your folks did it.
Well, yeah, even after the war, my dad at one point in time had a produce market, and there would generally be a grocery nearby or in the same facility, and I guess they would buy food stuff and bring it home and cook it. But I didn't get involved in that kind of thing until much later.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video.
I'm trying to find